it's hard to see the label when you're stuck inside the jar.
Yeah, completely, yeah.
And it's not until you step outside that jar that you actually see it. And the only way that you step out is when something traumatic happens that actually just reminds you that, you think... If I go back 5 years, I said this before, that if you looked at your life as a chapter of a book, I thought in a 12-chapter book that I was on chapter 10. So I was like, I'm only a couple of chapters away from completing life. And that was the level of arrogance I was at. It's this kind of Dunning-Kruger effect of, when you're new, as in you're in your early 30s, you think you've got most of your life figured out. So I'm reading 10 chapters into my book, about to close the last 2, and then everything melts down. And then I wake up and realise I'm not on chapter 10, I'm on chapter 2. I ain't got a f***ing clue what I'm talking about. And it humbles you. It humbles you a lot, because that enabled me to realise a lot of things which I wasn't listening. And it's this kind of thing where lessons will always repeat themselves until they're learned. And if you're not learning from these lessons, you're going to get a very big one. And some people don't recover from those lessons because they don't learn from them. So they repeat the same patterns, and it woke me the f*** up. Completely changed everything that I was doing, and very much like these things, I'm glad that they all happen. A lot of people are afraid for these, we talk about ups, failures and mistakes. A lot of people are so afraid to make them that they don't push themselves into understanding them. And it's difficult, because you can sit here on podcasts and interviews and tell people what they need to do, but unfortunately most people, there's a big difference between listening to somebody else and experiencing it yourself. And life is full of those obstacles and curveballs, but it's all down to how you look at them. You can look at them as negative things, or you can look at them as opportunities. I think there's an author, Randy Pausch, I think his name, he's got a great book called The Last Lecture, and he died of cancer. So he found out he had cancer and he had about 6 months left, and the book is about him giving his last lecture. The obstacles that lie between you and your goals are not there to stop you from reaching your goals. They are to stop the people who don't want them enough. And for me, that's so powerful, because we've all experienced those things that fuck us up, and we're like, shit, I thought we were onto something here, and a curveball comes in, and you're like, is it a curveball though? Yeah, I'm not very spiritual, but if you were to look at this as going, right, cool, there's someone up there playing a big game, and it's like, these guys are good, and it's like, yeah, but how good are they? It's like, let's put it to the test. And they put this thing in front of you, and then you decide then to give it up and try something else. And then the people up there go, told you. Versus putting that obstacle in your way, and not only do you learn from it, you become better, and they deserve it. And whatever thing you think of, if you can mentally visualize that when you go through a tough time, you're like, no, I know your game, motherfucker. Let's see what you're made of. And I love that kind of shit, because I've pushed myself so much in my life of people doubting what I can do. They're like, that's not possible, you can't do that. I'm like, there is a certain level of arrogance to it, because a good friend of mine, Ross Edgley, he said, and he has achieved incredible feats of endurance. He was the first man to swim around the entire United Kingdom. And he said an amazing quote, which I'll always remember, and he says, you have to be naive to start and stubborn to finish. And anything that you go into, if you knew how much work was involved and how much sacrifice you had to make, if someone went down and go, well, Jordan, here's what's going to happen to you in the next 10 years if you decide to take this journey, you'd probably take one look at that book and go, fuck that shit. And it's so true. And that's where, when I think about obstacles, when I think about things that you need to build up, you've just got to go into it with a level of naivety. But when these things do come, you've just got to have a mindset about it to go, okay, cool, how bad do you want this? And I always think that when this is difficult, I remind myself, if this is difficult, then it's worth doing, because, you know, most people at this stage would have given up. So if you don't, you're going to get rewarded eventually by this. And you don't know when. There's not a timeline for this, but you will. You know, 10, 15 years time, you look back and there will be probably a split second moment where you're just like, it was all worth it. It made me who I was.
Sometimes we'll be found in a negative situation and there's not much we can do about it. And that's where the tool of reframing comes in. So these lessons from Jay, and especially the last part of this video, can be a massive tool to help you in your life, in success, in relationships. Today's video was made possible at Mulliganbrothers.com, where you can now get the Mulligan poster. It's a poster to remind you that you're going to die. Each little box represents a week of your life, and you shade it in until what age you are, and then you shade in one a week. For me, it's been the best motivational tool that I have used over this last year. You can also get the t-shirts and hoodies. Use code STOIC at checkout for 10% off the poster. All the profits go back into creating this content. But before that, my favorite part of this video. Let's dive into it.
You know, the way you say that as well is like, I think there's like, it feels like you're in the deep with, and there's a certain type of people and they're all in the deep, and that's it. They just keep going, they keep swimming. It's funny the way you articulate that throwing something at you, like constantly throwing something at you to test you, is we've always felt that, like Mulligan Brothers, we've always felt like that. Like when the worst of the worst thing comes along, that's when we're like, we sit and look at each other like, here we go, like this is, and the bigger the storm and the harder it is to weather it. Like, I wouldn't say, in the moment, I wouldn't say we're always smiling, but there is a part where we just like, you know, have that like little smile on our faces, like this is the test, like this is what we came for. How do you, I don't know if you do, but the way you've articulated that, I'm guessing you do, is when those hard times come along, and with your level of self-awareness, you do have self-awareness, how do you remind yourself in that moment, in those difficult moments, that it's a test, like this is it, and to almost, I don't know if you get this, but like to almost smile and be like, at least I've got something to test me.
Yeah, I mean, I've got this, like, I say to myself, this is why we get paid the big bucks, and it's not got nothing to do with money. It's just like, it's this reason going, well, you know, you've put yourself in this position for a reason, so, and you expected this to be easy, then what's going on? And something I've done many years, I've pushed myself physically, and one of the reasons that I've done that is I have something inside me which, when you get to this breaking point and questioning something, it's the most magical thing, because it's exactly why that's happened. And if I think back to some of my charity events, you know, I pushed a 140 kilo sled for 24 hours. I got 14 hours in, blisters all on my feet. I thought I was done. I'll send you the video, but my daughter came on the FaceTime and said, "I'm proud of you, Daddy." Straight away, back up, finished. I ran backwards for 24 hours, 109 kilometers. 19 hours in, I was hobbling, walking backwards, not thinking I can go, and just something was like, someone said to me, you're about 6 kilometers off the world record. And then something in me, I took off my second jacket because I was cold, because I was walking backwards, and I said, let's go. I ran my fastest 5k that I ever ran. I did the Brighton 10k backwards, and I ran a faster 5k time, 19 hours than I did then. And it's like, where the does this come from? Boxed on Everest, hour 9 of 24. My quad spasms, my calf went, and my heart rate was going through the roof, and I was like, fuck, we're done. And I was like, you don't need to think about the other 15 hours we've got, you just need to get through this hour. Got through the hour, had a massage, had a little talk to myself, and then just got back on.
Thank you so much to Jay for doing this video. I'm going to link his stuff down below. You can find out more on his Instagram, where he gives away free resources all the time of relationship advice, entrepreneurship, body goals, whatever it is. He does cover it in such an articulate way, so please go follow him. If you want to support us, head over to Mulliganbrothers.com, where all the profits go back into creating this content. You can get the t-shirts, the hoodies, and the new Mulligan poster. but to remind you you're going to die. It's a load of 80 years worth of little boxes that you shade in up until the age that you are. You shade in one a week, and it reminds you constantly. I have mine on my fridge, and I have never had a more powerful tool. Thank you for watching. Have a blessed and productive day. Use code STOIC at checkout for 10% off, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.